Hello everyone, welcome back to another video, and in this video we're going to be looking at expanding triple brackets this time. Okay, we've done single brackets, we've done double brackets, and now it's finally time to do triple brackets. Okay, so this is usually on the higher paper. Okay, so we're gonna now just take a look at some examples. Okay, and I will also do a question where you can have a go as well. For example 1, we're going to look at the following expression, okay, and I'm going to start by doing the arrows method. So I'm just going to draw arrows and multiply out the first two sets of brackets. Okay, you can pick any, it doesn't really matter. You could have done x plus 1 times by x plus 2 first, or x plus 3 times by x plus 2 first. It really does not matter because multiplication is commutative. So the order in which you multiply numbers, it doesn't really matter. It will give you the same answer. For example, if you had 3 times by 6, or if you did 6 times by 3, you would get 18 both ways. Okay, hence it's the same in algebra as well. So I'm just going to start off by multiplying the first two sets of brackets. Okay, and I'm going to draw my arrows in the following way. So I'm just going to do x times by x times by plus 3, then 1 times by x and 1 times by plus 3. Okay, so when I actually multiply these out, I get x squared. Okay, x times by x squared. X times by plus 3 gives me plus 3x. 1 times by x gives me plus x, and 1 times by 3 gives me plus 3. Okay, now I need to remember to collect my like terms. Well, the only sets of like terms I've got is the following. Hence my answer is just going to be x squared plus 4x plus 3, because 3x plus x is just 4x. Okay, so that's that bit done, but remember we're not done yet. We've got to multiply this by our last final bracket. Now the way to do this is you could, write down this set of this quadratic first and then multiply it by your bracket. So you can see that if we did it like this, we'd have a lot of arrows, okay, going 3 sets of arrows basically going from each term to each term in the second bracket. Hence it would be easier to do it the other way around, which you'll just see in a bit. Or the easy option is get your x plus 2 first, okay, write that on the left hand side, and then write down your quadratic, so x squared plus 4x plus 3. So what I'm going to do is draw my arrows from x first. So I've got x from here to here, and then x times by plus 3. Then I'm going to do the same with the 2. I'm going to draw arrows from 2 to each term in my quadratic as follows. Okay, and now I'm going to finally multiply this out. X times by x squared gives me x cubed. X times by 4x gives me 4x squared. X times by plus 3 gives me plus 3x. 2 times by x squared gives me plus 2x squared. 2 times by positive 4x gives me plus 8x. And then lastly 2 times by 3 just gives me plus 6. Okay, now it's just a case of collecting all your like terms together and making this look less horrible, okay, and making it more compact. So our like terms are as follows. We've got 4x squared and a 2x squared. I've got a 3x, okay, and a plus 8x. Now I like to just differentiate between my like terms by drawing lines or boxes, okay, just making like a little key, you can say, to help me see what are my like terms exactly. Or the other way you can do is just use a different color pen and just underline all your like terms together. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is actually just collect them. So that means I've got x cubed stays the same. 4x squared plus 2x squared gives me 6x squared. 3x plus 8x gives me 11x plus 11x, and then lastly the plus 6 just stays as it is. Okay, and that's my final answer. Now for this question, I've written down your turn because I want you to have a go at this. So pause the video right here, see if you can apply what you've just learned from the example before, and then replay the video and check what I've done as well. Okay, so what I've done is just the following. I've chosen again to just multiply out my first two sets of brackets first, then I'm going to deal with my last one. Okay, and I've drawn my arrows as follows. Okay, and I've just drawn this big arrow just to show that I'm dealing with this part first. So I've done x times by x gives me x squared, x times by plus 1 gives me plus 1x, so I can just write down x. I really don't have to write down the 1, okay, because as mathematicians, you know, we are kind of a little bit lazy, I like to say, and we like to save time and space as much as possible. So we're just going to leave it with x. Then moving on to 4 times by x gives me plus 4x. Oops. And then plus 4 times by 1 gives me plus 4. And now we're going to collect our like terms, so we get x squared plus x plus 4x gives me plus 5x, and then lastly plus 4. Okay, so that's your quadratic done. Now I need to do, and you might remember the tip that I gave you before was to get your final bracket, which in this case is x plus 3, okay, x plus 3, and write that first, and then your quadratic, okay, so then your x squared plus 5x plus 4, and multiply them out in that way, in that order, only because it just makes your arrows less confusing, and it makes the working out a lot more clearer for you. So what you hopefully remember to do is the following. Okay, draw arrows from each term to each term in the second bracket. Okay, so now we're just going to multiply this out. So x times by x squared gives me x cubed, x times by plus 5 gives me plus 5x squared, x times by 4 gives me plus 4x, 3 times by x squared plus 3x squared, 3 times by 5x gives me plus 15x, and then 3 times by 4 gives me 12. Okay, now I need to just collect my like terms. So that means I've got my 5x squared, and I've got my plus 3x squared, I've got my plus 4x, putting a box around that, and my plus 15x, I'm putting a box around that, as follows, just to help me see clearly my like terms, and then I am just collecting them. So that means I've got x cubed plus 5x squared plus 3x squared gives me 8x squared, okay, and then 4x plus 15x gives me plus 19x, and then lastly plus 12, okay, and that's my final answer. Okay, so in this next example, you can see something slightly different, and that is the negative sign here, okay, and it just means that the difficulty level is just rising slightly, ever so slightly, because you've got to remember your negative number rules, okay, otherwise the method is exactly the same. So let's jump straight into it, and again I'm just going to pick my first 2 sets of brackets to expand first. There is no one way of doing it. You could be multiplying these 2 first and then move over to multiply your x plus 2 with them, okay, but I'm just going to deal with these 2. So let's draw our arrows. Okay, so that means I'm going to be doing x times by x, x times by plus 3, 2 times by x, and 2 times by plus 3, which gives me x squared, okay, plus 3x, plus 2x, and then lastly plus 6. So when I actually collect the like terms, it gives me x squared plus 5x and then plus 6, okay, and then I need to remember to multiply this by my x minus 2, and remember the tip I gave in the previous video. I'm going to write down x minus 2 first, and then my quadratic of x squared plus 5x plus 6, okay, it just makes things easier. And then a case of me drawing my arrows. So that means I'm doing x times by x squared, x times by plus 5x, and x times by plus 6. Then negative 2 times by every element in my second bracket. Okay, to actually work them out, I should be getting x cubed, x times by x squared gives me x cubed. And then x times by plus 5x gives me plus 5x squared. X times by plus 6 gives me plus 6x, minus 2 times by x squared gives me minus 2x squared, minus 2 times by plus 5x gives me negative 10x, minus 2 times by plus 6 gives me minus 12. And then finally, I need to collect my like terms together. That means I've got my 5x squared and my negative 2x squared, my positive 6x, and my negative 10x. They are a set of like terms, so I need to be including them, I need to be collecting them, in my final answer. So I've got x cubed finally, plus 5x squared minus 2x squared gives me plus 3x squared plus 6x minus 10x. So if you imagine this as you being on the plus 6 in your number line, okay, and then you're taking away 10, so you're moving towards the left-hand side on your number line and you're getting more negative. So 6 take away 10 gives me negative 4x, and then lastly negative 12. Okay, and that's my final answer. Okay, again for the your turn question, I've got one for you to try. So pause the video here and have a go at this, okay? It's quite similar to the example that we've just done, and then come back and check with me. Okay, so the last example that I want you to look at is this one. You'll notice now that we've got a coefficient greater than 1. Okay, by coefficient, I mean the number being multiplied by a variable, so x in our case. Okay, we've got a plus 2x here rather than just a simple x. So that takes things slightly up a bit just in terms of our multiplying and numbers, okay, that we get. But essentially, again, the same method. I'm going to first of all just multiply out these last two brackets so that I can keep that bracket with the coefficient greater than 1 for the end, okay? And also so that I can deal with the negative numbers first as well. Even though we do that, we will still get some negative answers because of that negative 3, okay? Which will then multiply in the end by this. So let's go ahead and look at these two brackets. So I'm just going to draw my arrows again. So we've got x times by x times by plus 4, minus 3 times by x, and minus 3 times by plus 4. So that means I should be getting here, just drawing my wiggly line, and that means I should be getting x squared plus 4x minus 3x, and then lastly minus 12. Okay, and then now if I collect my like terms, I should be getting x squared plus 4x minus 3x gives me plus x, and then minus 12 lastly. Now I'm going to multiply the 2x plus 1 by my x squared plus x minus 12. So let's take a look at what we're doing now. So we're just going to be doing the 2x times by everything and then the plus 1 times by everything. Okay, so that means I've got 2x times by x squared, which gives me 2x cubed. Then 2x times by plus x gives me 2x squared. 2x times by negative 12 gives me negative 24x. Plus 1 times by x squared gives me plus x squared. And then plus 1 times by x just gives me plus x. Plus 1 times by negative 12 just gives me negative 12. Okay, so now I've just got to collect all of my like terms together, which finally gives me 2x cubed plus 2x squared. Okay, I've also got another x squared here. So I'm just going to underline these to make it easier for us to see what we're collecting. Okay, right, so that's all of our like terms. Now if we collect them, we get 2x squared plus x squared gives me plus 3x squared minus 24x plus x gives me minus 23x, and then and then we've just got left our minus 12. Okay, and that is my final answer. Okay, so for a your turn question, I've got the following expression. I would like you to pause the video here and have a go at this yourself before you see my answer. Right, so I've just picked again the first two set of brackets to be doing first. Okay, because I just find it easier to look at the first two. It doesn't really make a difference how you do your expanding. Now I'm just going to do 3x times by my 2x first, which gives me 6x squared, and then 3x times by plus 3 gives me plus 9x, and then minus 1 times by 2x gives me minus 2x, minus 1 times by plus 3 gives me minus 3. Okay, now I'm going to collect my like terms, which gives me 6x squared plus 9 minus 2 gives me plus 9 minus 2, gives me plus 7x. Then I've just got minus 3. Okay, now I just need to multiply this bracket by my above bracket, okay, that I had left at the start. Now to make things easier, what I can do is just put my 3x plus 4 first, okay, and multiply that by my 6x squared plus 7x minus 3. Okay, it just makes things a little bit easier to be working with. And then I'm just going to be drawing my arrows. It just means that I've got less arrows to be worrying about when I'm drawing, okay? Whereas if I put that bracket first and did it that way. So that means I can do 3x times by 6x squared, 3x times by plus 7x, and then 3x times by minus 3. And then my other set of arrows I've just got by plus 4 being multiplied by everything, okay? And that's the set of brackets, okay? Now just expanding them, okay, gives me 3x times by 6x squared gives me 18x cubed. 3x times by plus 7x gives me plus 21x squared. 3x times by minus 3 gives me minus 9x. And then the plus 4 times by everything. So plus 4 times by 6x squared gives me plus 24x squared. Plus 4 times by plus 7x gives me plus 28x. Then lastly, plus 4 times by negative 3 gives me negative 12. Okay. And now it's a case of just making this horrible long expression into something nicer. So collecting my like terms, that means I have got 21x squared and plus 24x squared, negative 9x, and I've got plus 28x, which are all like terms. Okay, I'm just going to box around those to just segregate my different sets of like terms. So I've got my 18x cubed as it is, plus 21x squared plus 24x squared gives me plus 45x squared minus 9x plus 28x. Okay, so imagine you get minus 9 on the number line, you're adding 28 to it, okay? So you get positive 19x, and then lastly I've just got my negative 12, okay? And here is the answer. Okay, so next up, I've just got a tricky exam style question for us to look at, okay? Which means what we're doing is finding out the missing value of a, okay? So we've been given this expression that when it's expanded, it gives us x cubed plus 7x squared plus 2x minus 40, okay? And we need to work out, using this piece of information, what is a. So what is one of the values in our brackets? So one way that we can do it is just expand this triple bracket, expand these triple brackets, okay, and then see what it gives us, okay? And then from there we can try and compare it with each term here and see if we can work out what a would be, okay? So that's one way of doing it, and that's the way that I'm going to go about it. So I'm going to just pick the first two sets of brackets, okay, and expand them. So x plus 5 times by x minus 2. So I'm just going to draw my arrows, okay, in the following way. And I'll just move this little squiggly line a little bit further down, okay, as follows, and then actually expand it. So that means I've got x squared, x times by x squared, x times by negative 2, it gives me negative 2x, plus 5 times by x gives me plus 5x, plus 5 times by negative 2 gives me negative 10. Collecting my like terms gives me x squared, minus 2x plus 5x gives me plus 3, because if you imagine you're at negative 2 on your number line, you're adding 5, so you're getting more positive, so you're going to go all the way up to plus 3x, and then you've got your negative 10 as well still. So that's my first set done. Then I need to remember to multiply that by my x plus a, okay? So that means what I need to be doing is, sorry if you didn't see that very well, this is the final answer for that bit. Then if you're doing x plus a times by x squared plus 3x minus 10, then what we need to be doing is again drawing my arrows. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and use my purple pen to draw the arrows. So as follows. So we're applying x by everything on this bracket and then a by everything in this bracket, okay? And then now what I need to be doing is actually going ahead and expanding. So I'm going to be doing x times by x squared gives me x cubed, x times by plus 3x gives me plus 3x squared. X times by negative 10 gives me negative 10x. Now moving on to a, so I've got plus a times by x squared gives me plus ax squared. Plus a times by plus 3x gives me plus 3ax. Okay, and then plus a times by negative 10 gives me negative 10a. All right. So an easy way to look at it now is, after I've done my expanding, is I can look at minus 10a, okay, and I can compare that with my negative 40 over here, okay? And the reason being is because minus 10a is not an x term, it's not an x squared term, and it's not an x cubed term either, which means it's directly going to be equivalent to my negative 40, okay, my negative 40. So I can just write that down as an equation and solve it. So that means negative 10a is actually equivalent to negative 40, okay, as follows. So that means a is actually just going to be negative 40 divided by negative 10, okay, hence, therefore, a is just going to be equal to negative 40 divided by negative 10, which is equal to positive 4. Okay, this means that a is just going to be equal to 4. This 3 dot symbol, okay, it just means therefore in maths. Okay, it's just notation, fancy notation. And again, like I said, we are lazy, so we like to just save time and space. So we just do the 3 dots and it means therefore. Okay, so if you want to impress your examiners in your GCSE exams, just put that therefore symbol there. Okay, so that means that a just equals 4, and that was like a short way of working that out. Okay, so I've written down another tricky question, okay, and it's tricky because it's not straightforward telling you that it's an expanding triple brackets question. It's not looking right at you in the face with 3 sets of brackets to expand, but it's instead kind of covered, and that's the type of questions you're going to get in exams, because they're not always just going to be, you know, expand this this expression. Instead, you've got this. So you've got a cube has side length x plus 2 centimeters. What is the volume of the cube? So for this question, you need to know what volume is, and you need to know what a cube looks like. Okay, so the best thing to do is do a sketch of a cube, okay, and label the side lengths, and then we can go from there. Okay, and here's my lovely cube. That's just the best I could do with drawing a cube, so don't judge me there. And now just to label the sides. So we've just been told that the side length is x plus 2. Okay, so I'm just going to put that there. And because it's a cube, okay, a cube has all side lengths the same. It's basically a square, but in 3D. So that means all of my side lengths are x plus 2. Okay, all of these side lengths. And now to work out the volume, remember, volume is just equal to basically the area of your cross section of your 3D shape times by your length. Okay, so the cross section of the shape is the front face of it. Basically, whenever you cut it across its length, what's the face looking directly at you? Well, it's this square here, so that means it's just x plus 2 times by x plus 2. And then remember, we need to multiply the cross-sectional area, which is this, by the length, which again is x plus 2. So what we're actually doing is just doing x plus 2 times by x plus 2 times by x plus 2. We're just expanding these triple brackets, and then from here, it's just basically what we've been doing before previously. So I'm just going to be doing x times by x, which gives me x squared. X times by plus 2 gives me plus 2x. Then plus 2 times by x gives me plus 2x. Plus 2 times by plus 2 gives me plus 4. Simplifying, okay, and collecting like terms gives me x squared plus 4x here, and then plus 4. Now I've got to just multiply this quadratic by my linear expression, my linear bracket, sorry, here. So the last step is just to do x plus 2 times by my quadratic expression that I just worked out previously. Okay, and I've done it in this way, remember, because it just makes the working out easier, less arrows to be dealing with. Okay, so it's as follows. And now I'm just going to go ahead and actually work it out. So x times by x squared gives me x cubed. X times by plus 4x gives me plus 4x squared. And then x times by plus 4 gives me plus 4x. 2 times by x squared gives me plus 2x squared. 2 times by plus 4x gives me plus 8x. And then 2 times by plus 4 gives me plus 8. Okay, now collecting my like terms, okay, means I'm looking at plus 4x squared, plus 2x squared, plus 4x, and plus 8x. These are all sets of like terms, okay? And then now the final answer is just x cubed plus 4x squared plus 2x squared gives me plus 6x squared, plus 4x plus 8x gives me plus 12x, and then lastly the plus 8 is just there on its own, with no like terms. So that is the final answer, okay, my final expression. And what I need to remember is, because the question was a volume question, I've got to remember to include my units in the appropriate manner. So it's set in centimeters, hence that means I'm going to do my final answer in centimeters, but in cubic centimeters because it's volume, okay? So I'm going to add this at the end of it. So hopefully that was helpful, okay? And if you have any questions regarding the method or these tricky questions in the end that I just put in, do leave it in the comments, okay? And also any other topics that you want me to do, don't hesitate to put them in the comment section as well. Well, that brings us to the end of our video, and if you found it helpful, do remember to give it a thumbs up. Okay, share it with your friends and family, and also subscribe to my channel for more videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.